In this lesson, we are going to talk about choosing your product. So what to expect. The goal of this lesson is to help you identify a profitable product or a set of profitable products to launch in your shop. So if you already have a product, this lesson is designed to help you open your eyes to see what opportunities you're missing to scale more profitably. So stay open-minded. We are going to identify your product category options and how to combine categories, because you do not need to stay in one category. And we're going to talk about micro-niching mistakes and how and when it is appropriate to start micro-niching. I'm going to ask you some questions. As a business owner, you should be able to answer these. And if you can't, it's okay. Totally okay. But our goal is to be able to know our business and our numbers well enough to understand these questions, what they mean, why they're important, and to have answers for them. Hopefully we can get you answers for your specific business if you already have a product and a shop going. If you do not have a product, if you do not have a shop going yet, these questions are going to be questions that you need to ask yourself to do a checkup and an audit on your shop. You have to constantly ask yourself these questions if you want to grow and scale your business to the multi-six-figure level. Number one, everyone knows what the 80-20 rule. 80% of the blank comes from 20% of the blank. So in this case, 80% of your revenue likely comes from 20% of your products. I want you to figure out what those products are first, and most importantly, who is buying them. So who is providing 80% of your revenue to you? What are those products and who are the people buying them? We need to identify this person because they're giving you the majority of your income on Etsy. So we need to identify what they're wanting from you, what they're getting from you, and who they are. I also want you to ask yourself, is this the chosen customer? Is this who you thought you'd be selling to in your shop? Or maybe it's not. Sometimes it can be kind of surprising. Who is buying our items and for the purpose they're using them for? I want you to ask yourself, is that the customer that you intended to have? Next, we need to ask ourselves, what is our AOV? And that's your average order value. This is basic e-commerce. Your goal needs to be to drive up your average order value, because each customer that you have in a day, that's a touch point. That takes your time. If not taking time, it takes a space in your mind. It takes effort, energy, it takes space in your life. So imagine that you are trying to make $200 a day in sales on Etsy, but your average order value is $20. That means you have to have 10 sales in that day to get to your $200 goal for your sales, for your revenue. That's 10 people that you are talking to that day. Each person you talk to, even if it's an automatic email or an automatic message, or you're not, having a back and forth, that's still 10 contact. No matter what, if you're doing digital downloads or if you're doing print on demand, no matter what you're doing, you should be having contact with the customers who order from you. Even a single message, that's better than nothing. But that's 10 people, okay? Now imagine if your average order value was $100. That means that you only have to have contact with 2 customers to get to your revenue goal for the day. Now, that's a huge time saver. You want to be spending the majority of your time driving sales rather than nurturing these like tiny $5, $10, $15, $20 sales. So we want to increase our average order value so that people are spending more money in a single transaction with us. So I want you to ask yourself what your average order value is. You can simply divide your total sales revenue number on Etsy divided by the number of orders. So I recommend looking at rolling 30 days or 6 months, a year. I would not look at a week. You need at least 30 days minimum. Divide your revenue number that Etsy gives you on the stats divided by the number of orders. And that is going to give you your average order value. So the average revenue from a transaction. The next question is, what is your sell-through if you have inventory? So this is a question for people who have inventory, who have some cash tied up in physical product wherever they are. So sell-through, that means the percent of inventory that you're moving through in 1 month. So you're going to take your units sold divided by the units you receive in times 100. So if you sell 50 units, but you receive 100 units times 100, that would be a 50% sell-through. So that's really good, right? But let's, on the other hand, say that you sell 5 units and you receive in 100 units. Still, that's not that great. That's a 5% sell-through. If your sell-through is under 20%, that might be a little bit unhealthy in tying up cash flow. It depends what the average cost per item is, but we want to be at least over 20% here. Seasonal businesses have a less consistent sell-through. You're going to be bulking up on inventory ahead of whatever season has high sales for you. So it's less consistent, but if you have kind of an evergreen business that has consistent year-round sales, you want to be aiming for at least a 20% sell-through. Additional questions you need to know the answers to are, what is your profit margin? So your margin is your revenue from the sale of the item minus your cost divided by the revenue. Okay. Now margin is going to vary a lot, and something that I really look at is margin dollars. So the margin dollars are going to be higher on an item that is more expensive. So if you have a 50% margin on a $10 item, that means you're making $5 profit on that. The $5 is your profit margin dollars. Now let's say you have a 10% margin on a $100 item. Your margin dollars from that is $10. So you're technically making more money in that sale than you are with a higher margin on a lower price point item. So look at your profit margin. If you have a lower average order value, you want to have a higher profit margin, okay? Because the profit needs to pay you your hourly wage too. If you think about it, that profit needs to cover your hourly wage plus any additional savings or money that the business is earning or that you would want to reinvest back into the business, into more inventory. So make sure that your profit covers your hourly wage. You need to ask yourself, have you been pricing in your hourly wage into your products? And now a lot of people people who hand make things are not doing that. They don't really calculate the amount of time that something makes from production, from even before production, from going to get the supplies. That takes your time too. If you cannot be giving free time to the business. Any time that you put into your business, you should be paying yourself for. You need to know the total amount of time that it takes from going to get supplies, from production, from packaging, from communicating with the customer, to delivering that package or that item to the shipping carrier. That's all time that goes into that sale. Next, if you have a product, ask yourself, are any of the products in your shop just an absolute headache? Is there anything that when you get an order for it, you just want to cancel the order because it's such a headache either to make or to work with your production partner on, or customers have been inconsistent with their feedback on the quality, kind of up and down about the reviews that it's been getting. Maybe that product is not sustainable to keep going within your shop. Maybe that's something you should consider trimming as fat from your shop. Consider shipping issues. Are certain products always breaking in shipment? Are certain products just such a pain to package? Are certain products just getting constant return requests? Maybe the fit is inconsistent. Maybe the quality isn't what was expected. Maybe the reality of what they received didn't line up with the expectations that the listing set for the product. So are you getting a lot of return requests on an item? Is it just such a headache? Because half the time you ship out this item, there's going to be some kind of customer service issue afterwards. And also consider customer feedback or reviews. If you're not getting positive reviews on something, if you're getting more than one negative review, or if you're getting negative reviews that are maybe there's some truth to them, not just the crazy people who are complaining about postal service, if there's actual negative reviews or feedback that if you were the customer that it kind of makes sense, consider that. Do you need to change the product? If it's not profitable for you to change the product and sell at that price, maybe it's worth not having in your shop, because it's really not worth making $5 on an item if it's going to give you a negative review. A negative review costs you a lot in your future sales, in your future business. So if you're selling something that has iffy reviews, customers aren't always happy with it, it's kind of a problem child in your group of products, really consider maybe cutting that out, and you're going to be a lot happier as a seller, and you can focus on things that are profitable and lean into the things that customers are raving about. So if you have a product, we need to focus on the right product mix. So cutting out products that are tying up way too much cash flow. If your inventory is really expensive, or you have a lot of inventory on hand for something, or you're just tying up cash flow, it's not moving quickly enough, consider removing that. Cutting out products that take way too much time, either on the production side or on the customer service side, to where you end up just working for pennies. Now, unless there is room to raise your prices in the marketplace and still be competitive, I would consider removing that from your shop. You only want things in your shop that are worth your time. Every time you get a sale, you want to think, yes, I got a sale, not, oh no, that is such a time suck. You do not want to have that situation happening. It's not the way to scale to multi-six figures. And also cut out products that are not resonating with your chosen customer. These can be really confusing for them to see in your shop. So either hide them with a different section, and then when you custom sort, move them all to the end. If you have items that are confusing for your customer, maybe you're serving two different types of customer within your shop, consider cutting them out if one of those customers is not profitable and it's not the direction you want to go, or at least create as much of a separation as you can with the organization of your listings.